Hello artists! For this week's art lesson, we will be working on making some color wheel eyes. For the first part of the lesson, we'll learn how to draw an eye step by step so that it looks realistic, and then we'll talk about how we can create a color wheel in the center of the eye. You'll have a choice if you want to make the 6-color color wheel or the 12-color color wheel that not only has the primary and secondary colors, but the tertiary colors also. And I'll also go over how you can use crayons and colored pencils to mix those colors. For this lesson, you'll need a white piece of paper, any size will do, a pencil for drawing, an eraser in case you make a mistake, and a black marker or a black crayon for outlining the basic shape of the eye. When it comes to coloring for this project, you need to stick with crayons and colored pencils. Crayons and colored pencils are your best bet for mixing colors. If you would like to try paint, that's also a possibility, but markers won't work very well for color mixing. So let's grab all our supplies and get ready to create some color wheel eyes. For the first part of our project, we're going to learn how to draw an eye so that it looks realistic. Start by turning your paper horizontal across in front of you. This will give you plenty of space to draw your eye. For the top of the eye, you're going to make a curved line, almost as if you were making an arch. You'll repeat that same arch in the opposite direction for the bottom of the eye. If the shape you create resembles a lemon, then you have done it correctly. If the ends don't seem to match up quite right, or seem to be a little bit too pointed or too short, you can always erase it and fix it before you move on. If you looked at your eye in a mirror, you will notice that the shape is more of a stretched out oval and curved than it is an actual circle. In fact, having a mirror in front of you to look at while you draw may be helpful. 2 small curved lines by the corners will start the inner shape of the eyeball, and a large circle that goes from the top to the bottom of the eye will create the shape of the iris. The iris is the colored part of your eye, where we will later create the color wheel. In the center, we draw a smaller circle for the black part of the eye or the pupil. If you make a small triangle right inside, that'll be the little white reflection line. For when the light hits your eye, it always leaves a little reflection spot. I like to take my pencil and shade in the black pupil before I forget, but you could always wait till later and use a black marker or a black crayon to color it in. Before we move on to any of the extra details for the eye, just take a second look and see if there's anything about the eye shape that needs to be changed or fixed. Above our eye will be the curve for our eyelid. And we're going to add another curve below for the concave part of our eye by our nose. This one is a little bit more broken up, more just giving the impression of the curve than drawing a complete curved line. Also above the eye, we can put our eyelashes using lines that are coming upward, and they can go past the eyelid crease. We'll create the illusion of eyelashes. They could be different sizes and different lengths, some shorter and some longer. They go all the way across the top of your eye. And if you want to fill in some spaces, you could always cross back over the opposite direction to fill in some of the empty gaps of the eyelashes. You also have eyelashes below your eyes, but they are much more sparse and smaller. So some simple dashes are all you need to create the lower lashes below the eye. Above the crease for our eyelid, we were going to put the start of our eyebrow. If you happen to go off the page when creating your eyebrow line, that is fine. Just stop and pick up where you leave off. You can simply use your pencil and shade back and forth to give the illusion of your hairline for your eyebrow. To fill the eyebrow in a little bit more and to make it look a little more natural and hair-like, you can use the technique called cross-hatching, where you color over in the opposite direction. So you would just shade across the opposite way that you started with. Again, you could do this with your pencil, or if you wanted to do this with a crayon that matches the color of your hair, for instance, a brown crayon or a brown colored pencil, that will also work. Now you have the basic shape of your eye. Before we go on to adding the color wheel, you should definitely take a black marker or a black crayon or pencil and outline what you drew. Now that the shape of my eye is outlined with black, we can work on dividing the center of the eye up for the color wheel. A color wheel is a very important tool that artists use. It teaches them not only the names of different colors, but how to mix the colors, and also different color groups and colored families. Usually, the color group comes in two different varieties: the 6-color color wheel that has the primary and secondary colors, and the 12-color color wheel that has primary, secondary, and tertiary. I will show you how you can create both in the center of the eye. So if you would like to challenge yourself and make the 12-color color wheel, by all means, go right ahead. To begin with, we'll start with the 6 colors. So I have to divide my space in the center of my eye, or the iris, into 6 different sections. So I'm going to take my pencil, I'm just going to use a marker so everyone can see, and begin by making a vertical line in the center. I will then make another line on an angle as if you're making the letter X once, and then twice across the other direction. This should give you 6 sections, and you can always count just to make sure you have the right amount. Once you have them drawn, you're going to want to label the sections lightly with your pencil so that you don't get confused and you know what color belongs where. So R for red, O for orange, Y for yellow, G for green, B for blue, and V for violet. Remember, violet is the proper name for purple. I would draw those letters lightly with your pencil so that you can color over them later, or if you really want to, you could always erase them when you get to coloring. If you are choosing to do the 12-color color wheel, instead of 6 sections, we need to divide our eye into 12. So I started with the same straight line, but this time I will also add a horizontal one across. Next, I will create a diagonal line as if I'm making the letter X once and then twice the other way. If I were to count, I should probably at the moment have 8 sections. I still need 4 more for 12 colors. So I suggest that we go back and we look at our sections that are a little too large and we simply divide them in half. If you do that 4 times, you'll end up with your 12 parts for your 12 colors. And always count to double check. Now we're going to label these a little bit different because there's more colors. So R for red, R-O for red-orange, O for orange, Y-O for yellow-orange, Y for yellow, YG for yellow-green, G for green, BG for blue-green, B for blue, BV for blue-violet, V for violet, and RV for red-violet. And those are your 12 colors for the 12-color color wheel. Remember, you do not have to do the 12 colors. You can stick with the 6 if you like. Now that we have them labeled, we can take our colored pencils and our crayons to fill in our color wheel. We need to stick with colored pencils and crayons for this lesson because markers won't blend very well when you mix colors together. You can, however, try paint if you would like. So to begin with, we're going to fill in the primary colors. The primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Primary colors are special because they cannot be mixed. So we're going to simply take our red, yellow, and blue pencils or crayons and color in those sections. Now that the primary colors are filled in, we can mix the secondary colors, orange, green, and violet. The secondary colors are mixed by using the primary colors, and the colors surrounding each section help us determine which ones. So orange needs red and yellow. Out of the two colors, I always start with the lightest one first. So in this case, yellow is going to be colored first in the orange section. Make sure you color it in neatly and completely. And since you will be layering colors, you don't have to press so hard when coloring. It'll be much easier to mix if you press a little lighter. Red will go on top of the yellow, and as the colors start to blend together, you should get an orangish hue. Color mixing is an experiment, so you have to use your artist eye to determine what colors you need more of. For example, if your orange looks a little bit reddish, you might need to put more yellow on top, or if it looked vice versa, a little bit too yellow, you would add more red. Once you have your orange complete, you can move on to your next color. So if I look at green, green is created by mixing yellow and blue. Yellow, again, is the lighter color, so yellow will go first in the green section. Remember, you can also use crayons for color mixing. It would follow the same steps as colored pencils. Blue will go on top, and as it blends together, you should start to see a greenish hue. Again, use your eye to determine if you need more yellow or more blue. And when you want to make colored pencils darker, you could always color over in the opposite direction to fill in any spaces that you may have missed. For the last section, violet or purple, we need blue and red. Red is lighter than blue, so red will go first. Once the red is done, you can blend the blue on top. You should start to see a violet or purple color forming. Purple may be a little bit tricky, so you may have to do a couple layers of red and blue to get the violet hue that you like. And now you have your completed 6-color color wheel with the primary and secondary colors. You can leave your eye with just the color in the center and the rest black and white, or if you wanted to add any extra designs or details or maybe skin color around the outside of the eye, you could do that also. It's up to you. If you are choosing to make the 12-color color wheel, you would start with the primary and the secondary colors, the same as we just did with the 6-color wheel. The only difference is now you have 6 more colors to make, the tertiary colors. Now you could just use the primary colors and mix orange, green, and violet like we did before. Or if you're doing the 12-color color wheel, you're also going to need orange, green, and violet, whether it's a pencil or a crayon, for the second tertiary part. So if you'd like to just use them to fill in those sections to begin with, of course you can. Once you have your primary and secondary colors done, you're going to use the primary and secondary colors to mix the tertiary colors. And it's very simple. The name of the color tells you what you need to mix it. So for yellow and orange is what I need. Yellow's the lighter color, so yellow goes first, and orange will go on top. Again, color lightly, because you are layering the colors, and use your artist's eye to decide what you may need less or more of when you are mixing them together. And there's your first tertiary color, all complete. I would simply continue to mix my primary and secondary colors till the entire color wheel is filled. Remember, the name of the color tells you what colors you need to mix it. So red and orange, and all the way around the same thing. And here's what the 12 color wheel looks like when it's done. Remember, you can choose to do 12 colors, or you could stick with the 6 color wheel. It's up to you. Whatever you choose to do, make sure you color in neatly and completely. You should also use a black marker or crayon to outline the shape of your eye. If you wanted to add any extra details in the background, like the nose or the start of the face or a design, or maybe some color up by the eyebrows or eyelashes so that it looks a little more realistic and a little more like your own hair in your eyebrow, that's also a possibility. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure you take your time. Remember to stick with crayons and colored pencils for your color mixing, and you can always practice mixing colors on the back of your paper first if you like. Good luck with your eyes, and I can't wait to see what they look like when they are done.